Hey everyone, in today's video we are going to be getting a snowblower that hasn't ran in a while. We're going to be getting it up and running again, and it needs a couple things done to it. Well, the main one is the head gasket needs replaced, so let's get on with that. So here's the machine, the quick walk around. It's an old Snowflight, and the part we have to replace is called the head gasket, and it goes between the engine block, which is this, and the cylinder head, which is up here. And we can tell it needs replacing because you can see all the black stuff in here. That's actually exhaust that's been blown at the side of it and wrecked. And you can also see it a little bit here on the chute. And yesterday, when I was trying to start it, I could literally see the exhaust shoot out of here and hit the chute. So, without further ado, let's get a wrench out and we'll take all these bolts out and we'll replace the head gasket. So here's the head gasket that I bought. There's the part number. And that's how much it cost, $9. Yep, so I'll give you a zoom in on the part number. There it is. Okay, so the first thing we have to do to get the head gasket off is remove the muffler, because you can see this tab here, it's over one of the head bolts, and that's not good. So we're gonna have to remove this cover, which is just the Phillips screw right there. Then that should come off, and then we're gonna have to take out all these 1/2-inch bolts. Okay, so the cover is just two Phillips screws over here, and then you gotta pop off the choke knob like that, and then it should come off, and you can let it dangle down there. Next, what we're gonna have to do is take out the 2 Phillips screws holding in the exhaust, and if yours isn't snapped off, you're gonna have to remove the bolt that's up here. And you can use your normal Phillips screwdriver to get the screws out, and when we reinstall these later, I'm going to add a little bit of anti-seize so that the screws don't seize into the engine block. It's just a good habit. You don't have to, but it's just a good idea. And it's also a good idea to wear gloves so your hands don't get dirty. And there's the muffler, and the gasket on the back still looks intact. Set that aside. Now we're going to take out all these 1/2-inch bolts, and you can use a ratchet to do it. I recommend using a ratchet instead of an impact, because the impact has a violent impact to it, and it can sometimes snap off the bolts, and a ratchet is just softer and more gentle. So I'm going to take all these out, then we're going to slide the cylinder head out. Actually, I forgot, you're going to have to remove this top cover. So along with taking these bolts out, there's one sec. So along with taking these ones out, there's just 2 7/16 ones. So this one here and this one on the other side. You're gonna have to remove both of them. Then this recoil assembly should slide out, and then we can access our cylinder head gasket. Okay, so now I've got all the bolts loosened and I took out the bottom 2. Now we're gonna take all these out and then pull the recoil off. And they're all the same length, except for the short one goes in the front. And there. And just be mindful, because the fuel tank is going to flop off to the side along with this little metal spacer. Take that off of there too. And the spark plug wire and the recoil should just pull out of here like that. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. What does the cylinder look like? I'm actually really curious. Okay, pretty normal. Looks fine to me. And so here's the cylinder head. Looks pretty good, just a bit of carbon buildup. That's normal for these engines. And then let's see our gasket. And okay, so right there is where it blew out. There's like a bunch of stuff there. So okay, looks pretty. Alright, so now I'm going to get a rag and wipe up the junk off of this thing, the engine block, and then we're going to get the new head gasket and install it. And to do this, you're going to want to have the piston up at the top of the cylinder so that you can clean it off as well. And be mindful of these little spacers as well for there. Okay, so to clean off the engine block, I have a bit of carb cleaner. I'm going to spray it on here and then wipe it off with a rag. No, let's wipe it off. Pretty good. Doesn't need to be perfect because it's just gonna get dirty again in like 2 seconds when you run it, but there we go, that's better. And now I'm also gonna spray this off and wipe it off. If you have a bench grinder, it would be a good idea to wire wheel this surface here. And it would also be a good idea to wire brush the bolt threads. I don't have one, so we're just gonna send it and put them back in as they are. It's gonna be fine. It's just a good idea to wire brush this and clean it off. Okay, now we're going to install the new head gasket. So what you're gonna wanna do is line it up on the cylinder head like this, get the holes lined up. And then I usually like to take a couple of bolts, stick them through, let me get the correct one, sorry, and just line up the holes like this. And then we're gonna set it back on top of the engine and tighten them all up. And while I have the recoil off, I'm going to go ahead and install a new rope because this one is a bit frayed at the end. I have a video on how to change Snowblower recoil ropes, so I'll leave a link in the cards. Okay everyone, so now I have all the bolts sort of finger tight. Now I'm going to tighten them up all the way up, and I'm going to go, so once I snug them all down, I'm going to go in a crisscross pattern, just like you would a car tire. So I'm going to go there, 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 you get that? I'm going to do that, cross pattern. Don't forget the 2 small bolts for the bottom of the recoil. Okay, now I'm going to reinstall the muffler. I have all the top bolts tightened up, and I'm going to put a dab of anti-seize on these bolts just so that they don't seize. And there we go. And the anti-seize is kind of a messy product, but it is definitely worth it. And don't over tighten these because you can easily strip them out, and that's not fun. So there's 1, and there's 2. Now I'm going to rehook the primer line on here. I'm just going to pull this through, make sure that can still work. Actually, I'm going to reroute this hose entirely. This is going to go up through here, and then I'm going to reroute it behind here. So we'll pull this out, and we'll shove this behind here. Then I'm going to grab it with a pair of pliers, and then we're going to hook it on the primer bulb. Actually, a better way to do this primer line is to hook it on the primer bulb first, and then run it through here and around and hook it onto the carburetor. So there we go. And when you run the primer line, make sure it's away from the exhaust so it doesn't melt, or else your primer bulb won't work. And to make sure it's working, if you press this, you should see gas come out from the bottom of this thing right there. So when I push it, there we go, gas is coming out. So now I'm going to clean off my tools, and then we're going to see if it'll start. And then if it runs, we're going to do an oil change. All right, let's see if it'll start. Now I've left the side cover off in case we have to adjust the carburetor anyway. So we'll go half throttle, full choke, and whoops, that's not connected. There we go. Here we go. Choke off. Full throttle. Pour up snapped. I'm going to fix that, and then we'll come back. All right, I fixed the pull cord. Now let's see if it'll start. Full throttle. to fill with the carburetor, and then we're going to do an oil change. Perfect. Now let's let it run for a bit, and then we'll change the oil. Alright, now we're going to drain the oil. So I've got the machine on a piece of cardboard, and I've idled it for around 10 minutes to hopefully warm up the old oil. So now we're going to drain it all into this pan. There we go. Well, that's black. Holy cow. Jeez. Alright, now that the oil's all changed, we're going to give it a final startup. And then that's going to do it for this video, you guys. Half throttle, full choke. Alrighty, so with that, you guys, this video is going to be done. So thanks for watching and have a great weekend. And make sure to like and subscribe. And stay tuned for more videos on this thing to come, because we're going to be painting it, because as you could probably tell, it doesn't look the best, so we're going to paint it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have an awesome weekend.